What could happen is we can export the work output of AI to other countries around the world at a profit to the United States. The United States has a very big infrastructure of VC, and we can put money into things and therefore put man hours and work and incredible thought into a thing and bring it to market first. If we do, the question becomes, can we protect it? And then, can we sell it to other countries? Never mind what we'll do inside of the country. We're always kind of thinking self-centered. If we can sell solutions to countries around the world with our big new brain, we make new money.
Why would we
Profit.
sell it?
Profit.
Okay, so let me ask a different question. Should we?
It doesn't matter, should. The nature of the country is that we sell things for profit, and profit pretty much is all that matters.
The Black Futurist.
That's one small step for man.
Okay.
This week on the Black Futurist podcast, we have some stuff to talk about that is a follow-up on what we've talked about before, starting with Anthropic. A federal judge in California indefinitely blocked the Pentagon's effort to punish Anthropic by labeling it a supply chain risk, writing, "Nothing in the governing statute supports the Orwellian notion that an American company may be branded a potential adversary and saboteur of the U.S. for expressing disagreement with the government." And Judge Lynn also called it what it was, which is a classic illegal First Amendment retaliation.
This is par for the course for our administration. We're in a time right now where it is in the process, the executive branch of our government is in the process of losing Supreme Court case after Supreme Court case. Most recently, for the first time in American history, a current president sat in on a Supreme Court hearing. This Supreme Court hearing is to, of course, overturn the 14th Amendment. Well, maybe that's hyperbolic. To adjust the 14th Amendment so that it no longer conveys birthright citizenship. One of the clearest and simplest to understand and legally tested over and over again at every different level, the birthright citizenship, it's written extremely clearly. Like, it's a function of what happens when you eliminate any need to meet a standard for competency. And so once you eliminate standards for competency, then you have those people who, like, I'm about to age both of us right here. In Revenge of the Nerds, there's this classic scene,
with a rap by little old me Lamar.
Exactly, right? The running with the javelin and the whole joint, right? So at one point, one of the main dudes, I think Lewis, is like, they're high and they don't know that they're high, I believe. And Ogre has joined the nerds at this point, right? So he's like, what if there is infinite smallness in infinite bigness?
There is.
This is paraphrasing, but very close.
Yeah.
And he's like, what do you mean? He's like, take an asymptotic line and extend it forever.
Mm-hmm.
And then Ogre comes and is like, what if CAT really spelled dog? That is the transition we've made in our executive branch. When you take the rails off the conversation and you put Ogre into the conversation. So in their what if CAT really spells dog moment, one of the many moments our current executive branch is having, they are attempting through executive orders to redefine the Constitution to fit basically xenophobic and white supremacist parameters. And you just can't, right? Like, as conservative leaning as our Supreme Court is, certain things are just not going to be overturned through removing the standards for competence and then testing the limits of the Constitution in our democracy.
How do you apply that to the story about Anthropic?
It's the same thing. So those same people are attempting to impugn, literally indict Anthropic for not following along with what they wanted to do, which is basically turn over and outsource military strategies and deciding whether or not to kill people, outsourcing and turning that over completely to an AI. it's one of the places where we actually have guardrails that keep us from descending into the government and from the movie Idiocracy. And unfortunately, it's surprising to be reminded, even with its hard right-wing activist stance, that our Supreme Court is still has had to meet some sort of standard. And is eminently more competent than the executive branch. I don't think it's a huge difference with the justices that have been stacked onto it, but it's eminently more competent than the executive branch and has a fundamental understanding that the three branches of government are co-equal. So you can get Donald Trump in there making faces at different justices. And I think it was actually during Justice Ketanji Brown Jackson's questioning of his dumbass lawyer that he had in there that he walked out, realizing like, yeah, I've got the CAT really spells dog dude attempting to overturn the 14th Amendment or reify the 14th Amendment. Like once you get to the point where justices are asking you whether or not the Native Americans, the so-called Indians who are on the soil already, like you have to determine whether or not they're actually citizens. Do they meet the standard for birthright citizenship?
Right.
Could they prove their citizenship through that birthright standard? Yeah, you are well off into the range, way beyond stupid, into waste of motherfucking time. Again, in ways that have leaked over into more complicated aspects like Anthropic and what the government can and can't force you to do with artificial intelligence. And there's a lot of very interesting legal ground as somebody who's critical race theorist, so it comes from critical legal studies. I have just, an understanding of law and legality from that standpoint, from an education and a sociology standpoint. But just my understanding of that, there's very interesting legal ground in terms of what the government can and can't force AI companies to do. Having the PACLIDs, in there like, we need to shoot stuff. You will let us shoot stuff. And the Supreme Court's like, no, we don't need to let you shoot stuff. The magical robot.
The Pentagon's top technology official immediately posted on X, formerly Twitter. You have to say that every time still. That the supply chain risk designation is in full force and effect. Under a separate statute, the California court may not have jurisdiction over, meaning a parallel case in DC is still alive and unresolved. Basically, the $200 million contract is dead. And this big issue is not really just about Anthropic. It's really kind of a moot issue. It's whether any American company can be blacklisted from government work for publicly disagreeing with the administration. You might look at it like a precedent, but in my estimation, that's always probably happened. Can you imagine the Reagan administration hiring some company that spoke out against the Reagan administration when there's other options? Why am I choosing you?
No question. And there's choosing people with whom you cannot ally because there's an antagonistic relationship that precludes a partnership. That happens. In this case, this is the Supreme Court putting guardrails on competence and morality. Like, again, no, you can't use the magic robot-y thing to decide who lives and dies with the single most powerful fighting force in the history of this planet.
I was watching the debates over the birthright citizenship, and I only watched for about an hour, but there was a point where they're like, why do you keep on bringing up domicile? Like, it feels like multiple justices said, like, it feels like you pulling from some weird place to get case law on the book. You're pulling from some weird stuff. So back in 1868, when this was written, like, what were they thinking? I'm like, okay.
Please cut in Mandy Patinkin in The Princess Bride. Again, all old references. Because I swear at one point, Justice Gorsuch was like, domicile. You keep using that word. I do not think it means what you think it means.
You know what it means.
Dog. And allegiance, they were using, so Ketanji Brown Jackson at one point goes into this very interesting description of the history of allegiance and what it means. And allegiance, like, it was like the way that Donald Trump's lawyer was using allegiance, like, I got allegiance to the Detroit Tigers. It's Detroit versus everybody. That's where my allegiance is. I pledge my allegiance to the Tigers. Like,
Right.
That's not what we mean when we say allegiance. It means, and she brought this example, if you're in Japan, you have allegiance to Japanese law.
Mm-hmm.
So if you steal somebody's wallet in Japan, you have allegiance. You don't go to their flag and pledge allegiance. You don't become a citizen. You have an allegiance. It is an obligation to follow the rules, laws, and customs and governance of the country in which you are domiciled, right? And it's like, dude, it's like, no, allegiance means I'm with my team. And domicile, like, I live in my crib. I'm in a domicile right now. You mean you got to be born in a domicile in order to be a citizen?
I don't fit into the buckets, right? And in many applications in modern media, they try to put people in one of two buckets. And those buckets can change, but they're always polar opposite buckets. And then when we talk about politically, my views don't fit squarely in either bucket. So in this one, I might say certain laws and rules made sense at a time where culturally or globally we were going through a thing, and it may no longer apply. And I think I feel that way about birthright citizenship. What are your thoughts on why we still need birthright citizenship? Because I don't think I agree that we still need it.
The problem is you're talking about a constitutional amendment and reinterpreting a constitutional amendment. So even if you do think that it is time to re-examine birthright citizenship, make it so, like, look, go to the Second Amendment. I think without question, yeah, it's time to re-examine this notion of an armed citizenry
Militia.
and a well-regulated militia and what those things mean back from when it was, and I remember, like, here's another pop culture, Glory. Remember when your man, he had to tear the joint with his teeth and then pour jamming the joint down in there. Right. And as long as nobody was shooting, nobody was saying nothing, they were just quiet watching him. Ooh, he hit on target, And as soon as you simulated a warlike thing, he was shook. But it is that notion. And yeah, you can reconsider and want to amend and rethink these things. The problem is when you're trying to change not a law, but the Constitution itself, it requires a 2/3. I mean, that's like 2/3 of the state governors have to be behind it, plus 2/3 of, like, it's basically, this gets to a bigger issue. It might be impossible to amend the Constitution at this point. With the political climate in the United States and where it's going, we may be beyond the era of being able to amend the Constitution, barring some sort of cataclysmic event. The meteor, hits the earth like when the dinosaurs were here.
Right.
Barring something like that, man, trying to get 2/3 of the governors of the state plus 2/3 of, like, it's not going to happen. That's a long-winded way. But to your point, you may have a valid argument like, yeah, maybe we should be reconsidering in the era of transportation and, what it means to the United States as a group of 50 independent states and sharing the longest border on earth. The longest shared border on earth is between the United States and Canada, right? So, like, in this era, do we need to relook at and relitigate birthright citizenship? Maybe, but that ship is basically sailed because it's a constitutional amendment and not a law that was just passed by Congress. So it's the point to the depth to which it's embedded.
Moving forward.
If it's about For All Mankind, I ain't seen episode 1 yet, unfortunately. So I've seen all of the.
I know that I clearly sent you episode notes, and they're in numerical order. So we were going from number 1 to now number 2, which is not For All Mankind.
Listen, watch your tone with it. I'm taking it as a sign of disrespect.
You almost got a full spit take just now.
I hear it. After the number 1 comes the number 2.
That's right.
We're not at number 5.
Oh, vacation brain over there.
Number 2.
That you're doing Jamie Foxx at
two.
at the roast.
Exactly. Doug Williams roast. This isn't Jamie Foxx. This is your conscience speaking.
That was so good.
That's how you were talking to me. We're not on number 1. We're moving to number 2, not number 4. Number 2.
That's right.
Not to be confused with T.O. or T.O.O.
Dude, you're now touching on one of my key pet peeves. Anyone who writes me anything, letter, text message, or other, and uses either no punctuation or the wrong use of to or there, I don't care what you say. It's over. You have shown me that you don't have the credibility for whatever topic we are discussing now.
Your and your.
Oh, your
Y-O-U-R and
Yeah,
Y-O-U
yeah.
apostrophe R-E, that in there too?
Yes, but the worst of them all is someone using T-O when they mean to use T-O-O. I can't stand it. I don't care who you are. You could be Neil deGrasse Tyson. And you say that, you done. It's over. It's over. I don't care what you're talking about, Neil. You've lost all credibility, like putting
Neil.
DJ in front of your name. DJ Abraham Lincoln, done. I don't care what you're talking about. It doesn't matter anymore.
So Neil deGrasse Tyson sends you a text message. Hey, man, be more. I agree with you too.
I'm going to be like, to what? Did you hit send prematurely? To what? Because I want to believe, Neil. I want to believe.
You should you just type back with a lowercase letter O.
It's over. It is over.
You drop something.
And you will get a full sense of my personality at that point. That's exactly the right thing to do. Send back the O and just finish it for you like, I finished this for you. This is for you. That's it.
I think you dropped something, man. Hold on. Let me go.
Like, right. Benefit of the doubt. You meant to do it. There you go. Sorry.
Like, you gonna try to tell me 2 things at the same time? T.O.
Right. I can't. Sorry. I'm working on being as transparent as possible and revealing my personality so that you never meet me and say, I had no idea he was this way. No, you do.
What about the letter 2? What if they use it like,
The letter 2?
Yeah, I'm down with that too.
What?
But they put, so they're like, yeah, so Neil deGrasse Tyson text message you back. Yeah, B, I agree with that too. But instead of putting T-O-O, he puts the number 2.
I forgive that only because it's text message and you're maybe trying to save characters, right?
Mhm.
I get it. That one I could let go because it just been like
Text,
driving.
how about an email?
No. You had enough time. You got a full keyboard. No, can't do it.
So do you text in full sentences at all times?
Yes. I'm going to say yes.
Yeah.
And I
That's
punctuate.
That's a Gen X marker.
At least a period. At least to let you know this is the end of the statement. It may not use commas correctly.
Mm-hmm. How about capitalization?
It's and whose and whose. Those are kind of gray areas. I'll let you go with that.
I'm more lenient with its and its.
Yeah.
Who's and whose. I'm more lenient with those. Those can be more challenging.
Yeah.
I mean, it's still simple. We're still talking about like second grade, grammar and syntax and spelling, but
Stuff you could look up quickly without a book.
Yeah.
Next, OpenAI raises $122 billion at an $852 billion valuation, which represents the largest private round in history. This closed Tuesday, and it reshapes every conversation about AI. The interesting thing about it, though, is number one, who invested and under what terms? So Amazon dropped $50 billion, which means you're spending way too much on those boxes being delivered to your house. Just kidding. NVIDIA and SoftBank put in $30 billion each, and a portion of Amazon investment was contingent upon OpenAI going public and also achieving artificial general intelligence. The definition of artificial general intelligence: a theoretical form of AI that matches or exceeds human intelligence across all domains, including the ability to learn, reason, plan, and generalize knowledge across unrelated tasks. Unlike current narrow AI, which excels at specific tasks sometimes, AGI would possess common sense and adaptability. Now, I bet $50 billion, but if you don't do it, I get to keep my money. It's a hell of a bet. It's a hell of a go ahead, work on it. If you get it, we all getting rich and we all probably being exterminated. But if you don't get it, I keep my money. All 50 billion. That's crazy.
So there's so many layers to that. First of all, when you say billion, you are already we brought up Neil deGrasse Tyson. Shout out to the OG. Come on the podcast. Once you start talking orders of magnitude that are above 10,000, 20,000, we are not designed as human beings to be able to comprehend that number, right? And I've used this example before. If I said $10,000, you have an idea of the amount of purchasing power, but that's an abstract notion of $10,000. If I say each stealth bomber cost $1 billion, you have a notion of cost and product because you can put that one product in your face, right?
Yeah,
and
it's
say,
just like 100 yards.
I can buy these 8, 9, 10 problems.
If I tell you something's 100 yards away, you're thinking the football field immediately.
Sure, but if I tell you something is 10,000 yards away, are you going to walk, jog, or go get a bike?
I'm definitely getting in the car, but yes.
Right. So if I said, I'm going to have to mail you this box, and this box has 10,000 paper clips in it. What's the size of that box? Most folks
I have no idea.
Are could it fit on your kitchen table, right? Could you carry that box? And that's just 10,000. If I said, could 1 million paper clips all clipped each other like we used to do, in elementary school, how many times would it wrap around your house?
We wouldn't know.
No clue.
Let me just interject here, and then you go back to the thing you're saying. We just talked about 100 yards being a football field. So we relate the metric that we're covering with something that we know. So you get to billion, 50 billion, we're talking about gross domestic product of a state or a country. That's what we're looking at. So
way more than most.
Yeah, there we go. But that's where I go. Yeah, sure. I have no concept of how many paper clips go around my damn house. But, I know 1 billion. I get it. And that is 50 of them.
Yeah.
What's the point?
Now right. So now you're not measuring billions, you're measuring 50. So if I say the GDP in Haiti and the GDP in Nepal, two of the lowest, in the world, right there, and I don't know what it is off the top of my head, are both way, way lower than the revenue Amazon generated in the last 4 months. I'm guessing off of the top of my head. I would be willing to bet that that's true, right? So Amazon has enough money. This is how we make sense of it. This is how we reify it. Amazon has enough money to bet on AI and has more money to bet on AI than Haiti and Nepal have produced overall in GDP over the last 50 years combined, right? We still go back to what we understand, big bank take little bank, right? We understand if theirs is 0.3 and Amazon is 50 in terms of billions, we know 0.3 and 50.
Okay.
But 50 billion? Because it's 50 million. Oh, okay. Well, look, I remember when Hammer went broke, his house was 24 million when they put it up for foreclosure and everything. So 2 of Hammer's houses, right? We can, like you mentioned, 10,000 yards. Oh, okay. Well, that's, 100 football fields. We're going to break it down into, is that right? 10,000, 100 football fields.
But what's the big point? What are you getting to about $50 billion?
So once you start talking about spending that type of money, you might as well be talking like a Dr. Seuss book. We're going to spend 8 whoozy whatsits and they're going to spend 50 whoozy whatsits. We're not able to conceptualize. So it doesn't immediately dawn on us just how much money that is to be able to put a bet on. The next layer is, I think there's a congruency between the way that we're talking about the Supreme Court and it being not challenged by thoughtful litigators in terms of the 14th Amendment. It's just being hammered on by the Samsonite gorilla, just jumping up and down on top of it and see if he can break it. It's not thoughtful or principled or measured. In that case, it's just purely about a power grab. And in this case, they're similar. This is just, who is going to financially control the future of American computing? Who is going to get to AGI first? There's no standard. There's no minimum. The borders of morality are still being figured out. when it comes to AGI. We're not even asking the question, hey,
why
should
we do
we
this?
have AGI?
Yeah, well, there's there's 122 billion saying yes. Or
Exactly.
reasons, for just clarity's sake and for reference, the GDP of New York City is $2.49 trillion. So maybe that 50 billion. Well, I think the key, what we should be saying here is that when you have an investment that large on a valuation of darn near $1 trillion, what we're saying is that AI is definitely reached the point of being seen as infrastructure. The same as railroad was, the same as long distance telephone wires, the same as oil, right? We're saying the country won't run without this thing, or won't be able to compete globally without this thing. And we're betting all of it to get to it first.
Now, you was quite disrespectful when I mentioned For All Mankind. However, even though that's number 5, we're not at number 5, we're at number 2. TWO, number 2. Even though they're, and I have not seen the season premiere, as I mentioned, but I love how they do the alternative history.
Yes.
At the end of season 4, when they got the Goldilocks asteroid, and they're like, this could solve world hunger. This could end the need. We might be able to build the Federation where we finally no longer use credits in world society. And as I say cynically over and over again, whenever there is a new technology, human beings are going to try to do 2 things to it and with it immediately. Number 1 is make money. Number 2 is find a way to it, literally. So I think in terms of investment with AGI, and as soon as we start making humanoid robots, which we've talked about, the number 1 industry, and this is me guessing, but the number 1 or one of the top 5 industries is going to be human companionship, in some air quotes. And to quote Lieutenant Commander at the time, Data, speaking to Tasha Yar, I am fully functional.
Yeah.
That's what we're going to do. And that is my cynical view of humanity. I've said this before. And take it out of Amazon's hands. Take it out of the people who have $50 billion to invest and just say, let's see if this happens. If not, I'll get my money back. Go to go to a Saharan country. Find out what the local cat who lives in Chad, or the local cat who lives in the version of Cleveland that's in Sudan, where your problem is arable land. Your problem is being able to get modern medicine delivered to where you live. Your problem is water. Give them AI and let them start to try to solve problems. And I don't have any sort of predisposed, they're holier than us notion like, oh, and the better people will do more, No, because human beings are going to do what they're going to try to make money, and they're going to try to have sex with it. However, when you have humans who are not looking for how to acquire as much capital or income as I can, but how do we solve this hunger and environmental issue, they are going to be thinking about AI in very different ways. So then, of course, my point in For All Mankind, the Goldilocks asteroid does not decrease world hunger and reduce our dependency on financial gain and trade. It exacerbates it. The rich get richer. The rich get ultra richer. And the rest of the world gets worse.
You said you haven't seen episode 1 yet.
Right. But I predicted when I saw episode 4, when Dev I was like, yeah, we're going to, and they're like, we've captured the Goldilocks asteroid. It's made of iridium. Everybody's going to be rich, and everybody's going to have food, water, and shelter. Like, no, they won't. That is absolutely not what's going to happen. I don't believe in humanity like that.
I didn't really like it when they were talking about it, to go back to the previous season of For All Mankind in that way, because you need somebody to trade with. So all of a sudden, we Earth people have this incredible new metal that allows us to conduct faster, to cool easier, to whatever, levitate things, whatever we can do with a faster conducting thing, right? So now we can do a whole lot, but who are we trading with? Meaning, like, if it was a neighboring planet, like we're talking planetary level now, well, then I have this resource and I trade with you and I sell you some of the resource, or I sell you some of the goods that I make with the resource. So now I have this new wealth. So it didn't make sense with Earth, just as Earth saying with the attaining of the resources from the asteroid that we were going to be rich. It does make sense when you now talk about Mars and Earth being separate entities with separate agendas and it being under the control of one of them. And so because you haven't seen episode 1, we'll have to pass on that. But the show is on the air and probably episode 2 is out now.
Yeah, we're recording on a Thursday. It comes out on Fridays. I think the Goldilocks asteroid, a magic wand, AGI, they all function as MacGuffins. I think AI right now is the equivalent of saying Smurf as a verb. Dated references again. Like, yeah, well, AGI is just going to Smurf everything and we'll be okay. We can use AI to just be able to Smurf, just like, hey, once we get this Goldilocks asteroid, everybody will have access to all resources because they'll be so abundant. And no, that's not what we're going to do. We're going to hoard.
I want to get away from the fear mindset for a second and just let's present the positive of what could happen. What could happen is we can export the work output of AI to other countries around the world at a profit to the United States. We don't know what China's doing. We know what their private investment is. It's much lower than U.S. It's like 1/12 of the investment in AI is U.S., but their public investment is unknown. You know, what is the state investing to create AI? United States has a very big infrastructure of VC that's well established, and we can put money into things and therefore put man hours and work and incredible thought into a thing and bring it to market first. If we do, the question becomes, can we protect it? It's hard to protect the digital thing. Can we protect it? And then can we sell it to other countries? Never mind what we'll do inside of the country. We're always kind of thinking self-centered. If we can sell solutions to countries around the world with our big new brain, we make new money. Like oil. It becomes like the Saudi Arabian oil. And maybe if you can prove citizenship, you get a subsidy every month.
Why would we sell it?
Profit.
Okay, so let me ask a different question. Should we?
It doesn't matter, should. It's the nature of the country. The nature of the country is that we sell things for profit, and profit pretty much is all that matters.
Sure.
You're taking a moral stance in a place where morality is not the law of the land.
That is a running thread through our conversation. Mm-hmm. I think the United States took a moral stance vis-a-vis the Supreme Court in terms of what it allowed AI to do, specifically in the Anthropic case. Mm-hmm. To deny the ability of the United States military to use AI to make decisions about which human beings should and shouldn't be killed.
That's not an AI decision. That's a corporate decision. That's like Maurice has a team of people and he doesn't want you to use his services to do this thing. So does Maurice in his business ownership have the ability to say, I don't want my resources to be used this way in service to you as my customer? And if you say, yes, that's how I feel and I don't want to do that, should you be vilified and can you be stricken from the book and labeled a terrorist? No, you shouldn't be able to. So take AI out of the whole thing. It's not what the Supreme Court allowed AI to do. It's what they allowed this business, Anthropic, to do.
Sure. But to me, the impetus of the decision is the context in which it was brought up. And it wasn't Greta Thunberg coming to the ICJ, that's a completely, I'm just drawing parallels, like a world court. Uh-huh. And here's someone who is ostensibly thinking about what is the moral and principled position, right? So let's say the ICJ was like the world Supreme Court. Mm-hmm. And you have her saying, we need AI right now to solve world hunger, and it must and should be used this way. And that's the way I insist we be able to use it. In this case, it was the United States government saying, we want to be able to outsource thinking about who we should and shouldn't kill with drones, right? So while I understand your point that the United States is either going to capitalize because it's a capitalist country. We are either going to try to make money off it or we're going to try to f it. And those are the only two expectations I have for how AI is used. I still think that in the discourse, the Black Futurist podcast needs those of us who think about where's the brother from Cleveland going to be in the future.
Yes.
We need to be a part of public discourse that is challenging that notion that we should simply bypass the morality and bypass the question of making principled decisions and just say, how do we make money off of it? So I think there is value in thinking through, should we sell it to people in Haiti, Nepal, Chad, and Sudan who already don't have money? Why would we be trying to profit literally off of potentially helping them to end their suffering?
No, you probably would. You probably would give that away, but you wouldn't do it before you made the profit off of the G6 countries. You're going to go and sell to the rich countries first and sell them solutions because you have hustled and invested and built the service. And so I'm not going to go straight to Haiti and Kathmandu and be like, I know y'all don't have any money to pay me, but let me give you. No, what I'm going to do is go over to France and be like, look here, man, these croissants you got, they cool and all, but watch this. Hold my beer. Mm-hmm. Right? Mm-hmm. We're going to show you how to analyze your defense structure, analyze your economy. We're going to help you do all the things with fewer resources, but you're going to have to pay me or I turn it off. Mm-hmm. Quick shout to when they turned TikTok off for like 4 hours and y'all lost your minds, right? Mm-hmm. You turn it on, it's a subscription. You're never not paying me. It's a hell of a powerful position to be in. So I understand it in terms of the profit motive.
If I had Amazon money, if I only had $50 billion, and I could bet on whether or not eventually, because what you just described is a global version of Reaganomics, that eventually, once the rich get so rich, they will turn their attention to the less fortunate among us. And if I had $50 billion to bet, if I had $50,000 to bet, if I had whatever it was, if I could take every last penny, I would bet every single penny that at no point would we, the United States, ever turn to Haiti or Nepal. It will never be their turn. It will always be profit first. Morality, not even second. Morality doesn't ever come in to the question.
We agree.
And so I think just by previews, seeing the lead up, where they go through each year, in between seasons of For All Mankind, and they present the alternative history, I knew what was going to happen. I predicted it in season 4. One, because For All Mankind is specifically, doing that type of social commentary. But yeah, like I will always bet on greed. And I don't think you'll be wrong very often. Right. Because no matter what the next great thing is, the MacGuffin, the weakened Smurfit, the Goldilocks asteroid, AGI, all of these things that, and let me be very specific because I am challenged when I see people who are also politically aligned like myself as a progressive who are talking about how, artificial intelligence can democratize so many different things. It will never democratize anything. It will, and again, to where I would put my money, it is going to exacerbate and make things worse. And the problem is if we skip over the conversation about should we and shouldn't we, eventually those countries that don't have it are going to find a way to present a clear and present danger, as they should. Man, if you live in a castle made of gold, expect the farmers and the indentured servants to eventually come at you with the pickaxes.
Well, not to disagree with you, but to challenge you a bit, let's say it becomes your number one goal to make sure that the good people of Ypsilanti, Michigan thrive, and you have access to all the tools that every other town in America has. But your goal is to make sure that I seed the seeds of success in terms of knowledge and resources and practice into the good people who live within the boundaries of Ypsilanti, Michigan? What's the plan? What do you do?
Let me give you the barrier, right? And let's use this specific case that we're talking about. Amazon, who else? Amazon put what, 30 bill or
NVIDIA,
50
no,
bill?
50. NVIDIA did
50.
30 and someone else did 30.
If Amazon,
SoftBank.
right, just literally money that they can trick off, they could completely and totally, with that same money, end every single notion of reparations to Black people, give every Black person in the United States $1 billion outright, and have absolutely no financial ramifications for doing so. In fact, if you put $50 billion into people's hands that they can invest into the economy, you talk about the number of Amazon boxes coming to people's homes, man. So dial it way back for those who have at the most rudimentary notion of reparations for African Americans or for Black people. Just like, you know what? We ain't gonna parse the ADOS, the ADOS, or the African descendants of slavery, full-blooded Africans, and this different. We ain't even gonna parse none of that out. If you are Black, kind of Black, beige, tan, close enough, here's $1 million for all of you. Let's say it's 44 million African Americans and another 6 million, 50 million. You could make you give every person a $1 million check if you're Amazon, NVIDIA, and not blink an eye. It's money that you piss away. It's money that the Pentagon is. So what I'm saying is, we have the ability to make all types of moral decisions right now. We don't have to wait until we make more money. The discussion and the argument would have to be convincing people that this is mission worthy for them, outside of the notion that I have to have, like, even if we move it away from the specific morality and we say, okay, what is the income level at which you will then begin to think about things like improving the amount and increasing the amount of arable land on the Earth's surface? Is it 100 trillion? Is it a quadrillion? Do you need $1 quadrillion in profit?
I feel like you have totally jumped the ship on my question. You're somewhere completely different. I'm literally asking you, given all the resources available, if you were to choose a geography that you care about, how could you work to create success, given all the tools, including AI?
I'm saying so I'm going to a more fundamental place, right? If you want every single, I think, IPSI mailing addresses, 150,000 people, just give them the money. Just give them the money, dog. Give them all $100,000.
This is why we are going to fundamentally disagree forever.
Right.
For life.
Because I don't believe, just like George H.W. Bush said to Ronald Reagan, and it's speaking, and we're talking in positive terms, I think, about Haiti and, African countries. And this note, he said voodoo economics, right? Which is a derogatory way of saying that. It's bullshit. There is no point. There is no point. There is no amount of money at which people are going to start making those decisions for any reason, even if we get together and come up with a very specific plan.
What's the point? You're right. It's never going to go the way you're saying, oh, just give it away for free. It's never going to be. It's never going to be like, hey, Maurice, you happen to be Maurice. Here's $1 million. It's not going to happen. You don't have that much time. The arc of that change, that type of change to you end up being in Starfleet year 2300 and no longer using money on Earth, you don't have the time. You got a solid 49 years left, okay? Now, the dent that you could make in the town of Ypsilanti in 49 years might be significant. You could do it. You could implement educational changes. You could do upskilling. You could use AI to help businesses become more efficient and get more done with less. You would never hesitate to do that. You would never hesitate to invest in your people.
My point is about the farmers coming with the pickaxes to take chunks out of your castle.
Mm-hmm.
When you make decisions that are based on that Reaganomic notion, you continue towards gigantic gaps, not only in wealth equality, but simply in people's means to exist. It's why that philosophical notion of, can you be an ethical billionaire? Can you get to $1 billion without exploiting people? What is going to happen is the exploitation is going to occur. And I'm saying eventually you're going to have to pay the price. So whether you decide to engage in the discussion, a principled discussion about the morality of what you do with all your money and what you do with generative AI, what you do with right now large language models, much less AGI. If you don't have that conversation now, you're going to be forced to have it on some really, really nasty terms. I'll give you an example. Speaking of popular culture right now, the United States, again, has the most powerful fighting force and the most destructive power that has ever been assembled in the history of this planet. And right now, as of this podcast, the United States is at war with Iran, and it is asymmetrical warfare. Iran doesn't have enough missiles. They don't have nuclear warheads that they can fire at the United States. So they are fighting the way they can. They're like, oh, okay, we're going to f your allies up. We're going to attempt to cripple oil use on planet Earth because we can't bomb you. We can't fire missiles at you. You too rich. You too powerful. You got all the. So we're going to attack you in a different way. Right. And so with this whole notion with generative AI, I'm trying to inject into the conversation. Yes, the rich get richer, and they're going to continue to get richer indefinitely. The problem is eventually those chickens are going to come home to roost in some form or fashion. You have to pay eventually, and people are going to end up paying because instead of attempting to make a case why the humanitarian effort, the moral thing should be done, people are going to find a way when they can use generative AI. The revolutionaries among us are going to be like, oh shit, AGI came out? Cool. I'm about to make sure every human being in Sudan has $2 million in crypto. And with this AGI and this, and with my ability right now to get in front of my computer, I'm just going to take that shit. I will collapse cryptocurrency worldwide. I'll change everything right now because motherfuckers need to eat. And people will make that decision. The revolution always happens.
Unpopular opinion.
Always happens.
In my book, there's only one decision to make, and that is positionality. You weren't wrong. The rich will continue to get richer. The disparity is real. You need to decide with the time you have left, what is your position going to be? Because you don't have the time you think to wait. So you got to decide, in my book, I need to be positioned and aligned. I need to raise my sails on the investment side and ride the investment wave. I must, because otherwise I'm destined myself to be, quote unquote, outside the castle throwing rocks. I don't have the time for the moral arc to bend. That's just generations down the line. I still live here. I need to eat food.
It's paradise and that bunker. And so let me say right now, spoiler alert, if you haven't finished Paradise, pause right now, finish the season out, watch the episode 8, then come back and watch the rest of the podcast.
Shout out to Xavier for getting his Geordie LaForge moment. The warp core was about to breach. The doors were closing. Xavier runs out of the darkness through the gates at the last second possible. Shout out to LeVar Burton.
The Indiana Jones run and tumble under the closing door.
Oh, yeah. Uh-huh.
To me, the most important aspect is the moral one. And so I don't believe that I have enough time left on this earth, even if I had another 100 years. Mm-hmm. I don't believe I have enough time to fundamentally change things like that. However, I do have enough time to be on the right side. And I don't think that the right side is the one that is going to indefinitely enrich and engorge itself on AI money, because those chickens are going to come home to roost.
You can't
And the
afford
reason-
to not. And I'm not saying you have to decide in total isolation on or off switch. I'm just saying you have to have some balance of investment in progress and innovation. And while you also go to the help center with Wheezy and tutor people who can't afford or who have not chosen to afford to invest, you must. Otherwise, the only other choice you have in positionality then is geography. You can say, you know what? I removed myself from modern society and now I live in the Netherlands. Not that the Netherlands aren't modern, but I'm just saying socialism is the way of things there.
Sure. And that's the thing, that I don't think it's an either or. So as someone who is currently invested, at least in terms of my time, and I have the Anthropic and the OpenAI subscriptions, and I'm invested in using AI, but I am not using AI specifically solely and wholly in order just to make myself more money. As a device, it's imperative that me and my children understand how to use AI and stay somewhere near the edge of technology and make sure that we are using it. It's just a function now of of capitalist system and being able to work, to the point about Nvidia, Amazon, Oracle laying off tens of thousands of people. Yeah, no question. I have an investment in AI and its use. My investment in AI and its use from the standpoint of my career and making enough money to buy some J's and put food, clothing, shelter, and take care of my family is one thing. But there's another notion that is way, way bigger. So I'm not saying I am going to then opt out of AI. I'm not. That's not only short-sighted. I think that's impossible, right? It's like opting out of internet, right? Like
bigger than that, I'm saying you can't opt out of the profit motive. No matter what we're talking about, you have to have some investment in the profit motive. You can't be all moral.
Sure, but it's not all or nothing. It's not the completely and totally immoral or amoral pursuit of money for the sake of building wealth. And I'm saying, because when you do that, and as far as we know, as far as humans understand, no empire has ever won. True. I say it all the time. Rome controlled like a third of the Earth's citizenry, and now it's a place where you can fly to in an airport. It's a city in a country, right? So every empire falls. And it's that notion, again, to go to paradise, where everybody made fun of Cal, the president, the happy-go-lucky, goofy dude. He's like, hey, man, boil down all of this stuff to me. Okay, we got a bunch of nuclear reactors in this bunker.
Lower.
And we got this shutdown.
This makes cold water hot. Got it.
Right. Get it simpler and simpler, simpler. Boil it down to me. And then he said, okay, well, what happens if all of this shit hits the fan? Right? Mm-hmm. So that to me speaks to the moral question, because they showed up with the tanks at the bunker and, putting all of these pieces together in our conversation. I don't believe that the folks who are leading these forays into artificial intelligence, in particular here in the United States, it's take unfathomable amounts of money and throw it at making more unfathomable amounts of money. And the problem is, when you don't have people who are trying to answer moral questions about the direction that it goes, those questions are going to be answered for you when the system comes crashing down. And it will. It is going to
Will you be insulated enough to weather the storm? Or can you extricate yourself fast enough?
Right. So if I am going to invest, if I'm going to invest in anything, and look, saying this shit out in public on a podcast and everything else, hell, my social media, you probably know where I stand.
Look, you got 12 followers, man.
Yeah, exactly. So, but there is I know there's a little red button that they clicked to make sure that they're following my radical ass and the stuff that I'm talking about. I'm saying, instead of trying to find a way to get up on some of that NVIDIA money, I'm saying it's probably safer to go find the in Sudan who is going to invest each and every waking moment from the little bit from the LLM access that they get at the library on the 3G internet in EMPs and the ability to this system up. I'm saying there is an important not only acknowledgement but investment on that side, because for everybody, for the crypto and AI and everything else, that cat who invests in canned goods and takes every waking moment and says my grandchildren are going to detonate the EMP charge that shuts down the world. I'm also hedging my bets in that direction too, because what good is $8 trillion when ain't no lights on? And that's what I'm saying we
You're
have to
sitting
consider.
in a house that has, I don't know if you got in Seattle, you might not need it, but you probably got air conditioning. If you don't have air conditioning, you probably got heat.
Mm-hmm.
There are people
Right.
who, your argument to me sounds like, I'm not going to invest in air conditioning. Those people are going to get so used to that air conditioning, then when it crashes down, they will all fall to pieces. I will live hot.
No,
my children will
that's
live
not
hot.
what I'm saying.
No,
What
go
I'm
get
sa-
air
what I'm
conditioning.
No, what I'm
Invest in it.
saying is sitting in a home that has central air, I know what it's like to not have central air.
You'll appreciate it,
And
but you
I
went and
take
got
that,
it.
right, and I take that and empathize with the people who simply cannot.
Whilst
And I
living
understand,
in it. That's
right,
my point.
and I understand that people who don't have will find a way. They will find a way. And so I am not going to fully invest 100%
There you go.
in making money, period,
Or
with no
100%
regard
in the moral
for the
clause, in the moral
for the
motive.
moral ramifications,
Right.
because those ramifications are what bring empires down or cause someone else, with the way that China is rolling things out and their lack of investment in AI and this slow rollout, they could be positioned to be the ones. The BRICS nations might be like, hey man, since America is run by a bunch of idiots right now, you know what we're also going to invest in? EMP technology. And we're going to have the imminent ability not to fire nuclear missiles at the United States, but to very simply turn off all their lights.
Don't even need
We
to
are
do that.
going
You
to
just need to
invest.
turn off TikTok.
This is this
They'll
is
go
the
nuts
new way,
and eat
right?
each other.
Because you turn off people's internet, they go
Yeah,
nuts.
that's right.
Let
That's exactly right.
Let BRICS nations be like, yeah, behind the scenes, because like you said, there's no transparency. We don't know what China's investing in. Let them take every single dollar that they would have been investing in creating intercontinental missiles and nuclear subs and everything else, and have drone technology where they can create an electromagnetic pulse grid over any country, any sort of land that they want to do. Now, all of that shit about making as much money as you can and using AI to, now all of that shit is a non-starter. Now you need canned goods, you need to know how to hunt. you need a shelter. Nobody has central air. When we could have been trying to have the discussion about how we use this peacefully and think about where we want to be in 10, 50, or 100 years, instead of saying, I don't give a shit. Let me have my money and let me be able to these robots. And I don't care about nothing and nobody else. That shit is going to come back and bite you in the ass, because just as powerful a tool as AI is for making money, it can democratize the notion of warfare just as quickly when you have it in a basically completely unregulated manner, like you have in the United States, where any and everybody can get access to it for any reason that they want.
This has been another episode of the Black Futurist podcast. You can find Dr. Maurice Ellis Dolberry online on social media. Better yet, you can search him on LinkedIn. Maurice Ellis Dolberry. EDD.
Middle name's not on there, but
PhD, EDD, MDD.
It's fire. It's firing the shots, man.
Well, by the
Double
way,
digits.
like and subscribe to the Black Futurist Podcast. It's available wherever you listen to podcasts. And definitely connect with Dr. Maurice Dolberry on LinkedIn.
And I'm going to help you think about AI, teaching and learning, and morality in ways that are beneficial for humankind and in ways that get you to think outside of how much money can you make and how much sex can you have with these robots.
Thank you very much.